we have got a woman on hormonal birth control, what would be kind of the top 3 or so things that you would love that woman to understand about her physiology and how that relates to her training?
I think with birth control, people, well, at least like athletes mainly, like when a girl is doing sport at a highish level at a young age, they historically have just been put on birth control without any kind of insight or advice as to why that should be. So for most girls like will continue that for most of their competing careers. So I think when someone gets on birth control, the question should be asked as to why. Of course, like you first just ask yourself a question like, do I need to be on birth control? Answers yes, great, okay. From that point of view, which birth control should I then opt for? Now, this is again a very individual kind of decision. No, being on birth control is not better than having a cycle and vice versa. Like there is no, it's just what works for you and what makes, what is affecting you least, right? So I think at this point, when you go and ask, somebody for birth control, I don't really know what the process is, but from what I've heard from a lot of people is that they just get put on like a standard pill until they find one that is not impacting them that much, right? Which is fine, but again, question what, where does that sit in your priority list in terms of like, okay, I need something to just work for me in a certain way, and then go for it. So I think birth control choice question, ask questions. Why have you recommended this to me? Very important question, right? And then within the birth control, there's a spectrum again. So you have everything from like patches to injections to obviously pills. Within the pills, you have like progestin only, combined, you have the IUDs. And then out of all of them, if you have to think of it as a spectrum, you would say like the IUDs are like the least, the most similar to a regular cycle, whereas your combined pills are the the furthest away. So I think in terms of your birth control, ask the question why. The second thing, when you are on the birth control, to know whether it actually works for you, you would have to start looking at the patterns that it tells you. So knowing that you do not get a regular cycle when you are on combined birth control, right? You're injecting hormones or you're consuming hormones every day, which prevents your own natural hormones from coming up, right? So knowing that, like a lot of women just don't know that, right? So knowing that for 3 weeks, typically you would have that, and then your bleed that happens at the end of that is not your real period. It is a withdrawal bleed, and that's because the lack of synthetic hormones is then causing that to happen. And knowing how you feel between those two phases, because it's it can create a lot of side effects, and your body is very different to other people's bodies, so you should know like whether that's okay for you or not. And then I think from tracking that and then being able to ask questions, and it should be an open conversation with your doctor, and you should be able to get the answers you need and not be kind of like shut down. That's really important, because you find like a lot of women are kind of like, they're not given a choice and they can't ask those questions, right? So it needs to be more of a safe space to be able to like ask those questions and figure out what's best for you, I think, at that stage.
Yeah, brilliant. I think, you need to be your own advocate, and as you said earlier, put that curiosity hat on, right?
100%.